everyone, Ariel Adams here with the Superlative Podcast. Listen to aBlogtoWatch's other podcast, aBlogtoWatch Weekly, where we talk about the latest watch news and reviews. Today on Superlative, my guest is Andrea Maggi. He's the owner and the CEO of Squale. Andrea, welcome.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and it's a great pleasure to be in this podcast. I'm very, very happy.
No, I'm also excited, and I'll tell you why I'm excited, because Squale is interesting because there's three things it combines which make for a very good watch. Diving, Italy, and Switzerland.
Yes, exactly.
When these three things go together, wonderful things happen, right?
Yeah. There is it's true, because normally Squale can be defined as a diving watch made in Switzerland, but because of my family, there is also a big part of Italian touch, I would say. Yeah. And so
now, I'm actually curious. I know that diving watches are very popular in Italy, but is diving itself considered a popular recreation in Italy? I actually don't know this.
Yes, there is, sincerely speaking, diving was very, very popular in the last 20 or 30 years, you know. Before was more linked to the spearfishing, was very popular. A lot of people, because we have 8,000 kilometers of coast.
Yeah, of course, so much.
So it was a very, very popular. A lot of tradition is linked to the spearfishing, no? And now, it's not so common anymore. But there is a big tradition about diving.
Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. A lot. And a lot of world champion of spearfishing were Italian in the past.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And this is a dumb question because I don't know a lot about spearfishing. What kind of fish do you have to use a spear to hunt?
Mediterranean. They are not so big like I'm sure in ocean. No, we have the fish that you have to go around 15, 20, 30 meters down and to find in the cave. No, so it's not in the open water. I can say. It's more
I see. So you can't just have like a fish hook. That's not going to find it.
Anyway, in the past there was a lot of interest about spearfishing. And there is a story linked to Squale, you know. And in the 67, Cuba was close to the people. They opened just for a world champion of spearfishing. And
interesting.
We were there with the family, not me, of course, because I still was too young, thank God. But with the von Buren family, they were there attending this championship with the France team, the France of diving team, and also they were sponsorizing. In this moment, to speak about sponsorizing was not so the exact word. They were helping also the team of Cuba. It was very interesting this moment too. It was a big start in this moment for Cuba, but after they close again.
Does Squale have special spearfishing watches, or I'm guessing any diving watch would be okay for spearfishing?
No, I think that what's most important is a reliable diving watch. Not exactly. What is more important for a diving watch is if you go down with the oxygen, no? So you have to be sure about the right calculation of the timing, no? With the spearfishing, it's still a question of seconds, no? So it's important you have a clear view of how many seconds you are diving. Are you keeping your oxygen? Yeah, exactly.
So with spearfishing, again, I'm actually just fascinated because I realized I didn't even know there was competitive spearfishing. Is the idea that you have a certain amount of time and then you come back with whatever fish you can? Or how does it work exactly?
Technically, you have to go there. You have to study where you go. You will go hunting. I mean, because it is a hunt, no?
Yeah.
And after that, it depends on what kind of spearfishing you do, because if you do for a few meters, it depends from the cost. There is a cost that is rich of fish at 5 meters, 6 meters, 10 meters, or other costs that you need I mean, deep dive, The deep dive is another technical, very, very more difficult and also more risky in a certain way, because you have to go sometimes down with a weight, to leave the weight down, to fish and to come back. And
oh gosh.
Yeah. Now, in this moment, everything is extremely, in a certain way,
Yeah.
So there are some champions, I could say. They are able to hunt at 40, 50, 60 meters. And it's crazy. It's crazy.
Wow, that sounds really far for a spear.
They need to prepare. They cannot go 20 times. They have to go there to leave a weight down. Of course, the lake is linked on the surface, and after to fish immediately, to have maybe 30, 40 seconds to find the fish, to find and to stop the fish, to come back, and after to take the fish on the surface. But it's a extremely difficult technical. You need to be very skilled, and also
wow.
I do not recommend this. Really, I do not.
No, it sounds dangerous, but also kind of thrilling. People love dive watches, but the typical act of diving is mostly recreational. So diving is actually way more exciting than most people think about, and stuff like competitive spearfishing helps add, a romantic quality to, I imagine, what I could do with this watch. Because I always wonder, all these people wearing dive watches, are they in the Bahamas? Are they in the pool? Like in their mind, Are they diving 100 meters underwater? Are they military? Like I've always imagined what their fantasy is,
Sincerely speaking, if you think about the diving watch, is not now is more recreative, exactly like you said. But in the past was extremely serious, the question about the diving watch. Because if you start thinking about, military, and also about the many professional people, they have to go diving for the pipeline, for other things like that.
Yeah, the commercial divers and stuff.
They need, now they have also the help of computer and stuff like that. But in the past, they need a diving watch in order to fix the time when you go down, when you go up, and this was extremely important. I know we have some letters when we started. I mean, not me, but the von Buren family, when they started checking the diving watch, they give also for free to some professional diver, and after they write them about the performance of the watch, if was not because the technology was not so sure in the past, was not so strong. So you have only to check if the watch is clear, that not foggy inside, any things that can disturb the watch from a professional kind of use.
So what year are we talking about? Is this the 50s, the 60s? What era?
Mainly about the 60s. Mainly about the 60s. Yeah, 60s was the booming moment of the diving watch, I think.
Now, I've only ever bought diving watches when there was a lot on the market, relatively cheap. And yes, they were still tools, but it was not hard to find a professional one that kind of worked well. In the 1960s, from a technology perspective, what was so different? Was it much harder to make them water resistant? Were they just made less? Was it harder to test them? Maybe help the audience compare and contrast between these eras that are 60 years apart, right? Today and then.
Now, for instance, now we have a assembly line, where there is the fit up after the case to close the watch, and after every single watch is tested with a machine,
pressure machine,
with the pressure machine. Imagine this is now, okay, but if you have a machine of the history to come back in the 50 or 60 years ago, you don't have this machine. You have maybe some water testing machine, and the lack of technology was how can you really sure that a watch is water resistant? And also, for instance, the screw crown, the screw crown. Now we have this for guaranteed. Everybody have, but in this moment we're still starting this technology. So everything that now we have for warranty was not warranted at all. So it was a really experience day by day, using the watch. Was the best test to be sure that the watch was real reliable and for a diver. So we have a sort of pioneering time for me.
I have a practical question, and I've seen pictures of people with watches literally on strings off of a boat, dropping them in the water. But you mentioned that the pressure testing machines didn't exist. That makes sense. What did people do to make sure that the watches they were sending underwater worked? Because I imagine the divers themselves, like, how many watches could you wear? And if your watch broke, that's a big problem, right? So what did they do at the time?
At the time, I mean, as I told you before, we started giving the watch to some professional. They were our test. So we give the watch for free, And after to they write out about the performance of the watch. If the watch was
so they would take it underwater, they would take the design
exactly,
and they would report back. It flooded up, it was fine, but you don't know. Maybe after 5 times it breaks.
We have letter from I don't know. In this moment, for instance, in Europe was still allowed to fish coral. Coral, you have to go 90 meters down.
Okay,
and. Of course, you have to know exactly the time, how many minutes you need to go, how many minutes you can stay, and after when you come back in order to avoid problems.
The bends, yeah.
And these people, we have letter from them. They're writing about the watch. It was a real pioneering time. It's crazy. It's difficult to imagine also, but it's true. It's true.
Now, how expensive were these watches? Today, you can get diving watches for a lot of money, relatively inexpensive. I think Squale is obviously a wonderful value for the performance. But in the 1960s, how expensive was it to buy a professional diving watch?
It was quite expensive. Sincerely speaking, was I can say the price of Omega, something like this.
Okay. So definitely, it would have been, for today, in the thousands of dollars. Not everyone could have been able to afford it.
Yeah, it was quite expensive. It was not a cheap watch, not at all.
Now, do you know when the diving watch became more fashionably popular, right? At some point, it became something that was used for diving purposes and also for just regular wear purposes. I'm not really sure what that era was. I think it was probably in the 60s and 70s, maybe into the 80s. What do you know about that?
I think that in the 60s was a pioneer time. The people, of course, it's linked also to the economy, the 60s was very booming in a certain way of the economy.
Yeah.
But the people also was more interested to have a watch, to see what time is it, nothing more. I think the booming was in the 70s and mainly in the 80s. Yeah. Also because the economy was growing worldwide, and it was much easier to be able to buy a diving watch.
Was it seen as a status symbol? I mean, obviously, more recently, with something like the Rolex Submariner, is seen as a status symbol. But for many, many years, most people don't realize, the Rolex Submariner was a nice watch, but it was never really seen as a status symbol. Was a diving watch originally a status symbol because it was expensive and rare?
I think in the 80s, for instance, we can talk about Submariner. They became already a status symbol.
Okay.
Good family,
in Italy, of course.
The good family tried to give, if you graduate, maybe a Rolex as a present. Of course, wealthy family, not exactly everybody, but it was already a status symbol, I think.
Yeah, but it was cheaper. It was more like buying a fancy Tag Heuer or something like that.
Yeah,
like it wasn't a $10,000, of course, adjusted for inflation.
Not so expensive comparing now. Now, even more status symbol is even more something written. Or also now the people think of the watch about also as investment. No, they can
dangerous
create
ideas.
A value. No, this is something that is happening in the last years. I think the last 10 or 15 years. Not before. You see maybe a good watch, status symbol, but not in this way. And also, we forgot also that in the 70s, there was the big problem of when they discovered the quartz. No?
Yeah, the quartz crisis, as they call it.
There was killing a lot of brands and a lot of things that the people gave for warranty. No, for instance, a lot of brands and now they have a lot of power, catch a lot of interest from the people. They were going close to bankrupt because there was not. The quartz was linked to a period when everything that was old was of lack of interest for the people. The 70s is a crazy period. You know, see how the people was wearing, what material for the furniture, plastic, something like that. Everything was new, you know. And also the watch, mechanical watch was, what is this? This is something, this is owns to the prehistory, you know, to the old times.
Now, it was at that era that your family acquired it, the brand?
Was in the 80s, exactly. What is the 80s?
Yeah.
Because Mr. von Buren, you know, my father was importing watches in Italy from Switzerland, and also he became, he started working with the family von Buren I think in the 70s, no? And also became also a sort of friendship because we used to go to, they have a chalet in mountain. They used to come in our house in the seaside. But von Buren was born in the beginning of the 20th century, no? And so when it was close to the 75, 78 years old when he started saying, I want to quit. The daughter was a marine biologist, and she was not so interested in me and so my father bought the brand. Yeah, in these times.
Did you own other brands, or was this the only brand that your family owned as a distribution company?
We have some other brands, but not so important. We have a few brands because in the past we have other brands. But we were producer, or we produce watches in the past also.
Now,
for other brands. So we own a good technology in terms of making the watches, but more
as a supplier.
As a supplier, exactly.
And do you still do that today?
Sometimes, yes. For instance, we many brands, they ask me to make some watches. Some they want also the engineering by Squale, but normally I refuse to write these on the case back. If not, is some watch now that is linked to diving or something technology. Otherwise, for me, is no question. No fashion watch or another watch, everyday watch doesn't need my signature on the case back. Okay.
Now, I'm looking at the Squale website right now in terms of the history, and I'm noticing that a lot of the watches today, of course, look like many of the watches from the past. Of course, we love these sort of retro designs these days. My question for you is, as someone who's been in the business of this a long time, are you surprised that these traditional style diving watches are as popular as they are in 2025? Like, not a lot of things that were made in the 70s are still popular in essentially the same form, right? Like, obviously there's modern updates, but is it somehow surprising to you that for so many decades, these watches have been able to capture the imagination?
Yeah, I'm very surprised. Sincerely speaking, I'm very surprised. I'm always thinking about why also, no? I think so also is because of, we are in a kind of society that everything is growing very fast. Everything is changing so fast, and everything that you have for warranty today will not tomorrow, no? And maybe people in a certain, this is a sort of my idea, a little bit linked to philosophy, I don't know if it's true or not, but the people can have a feeling of to be a little bit lost in this kind of society, because you don't have anything for warranty. So something that is a past, easy to see, easy to talk about, can be a sort of direction where you can follow. No, you have. I don't know. For instance, I don't want to speak too much about my brand, but if you see that there is a history, we are still here. No, and you see also that it's not easy, of course, but at least you have a path to follow. No, and maybe this in a certain way can be the reason, no, now that the people is looking for watches of the past, or also the 70s, the 60s, they are still up to date in a certain way. Yeah. This is my main explanation, I say.
No, it's a good one, and I don't know that there's necessarily a better one out there. It's just a fact that for whatever reason, these particular types of products, even though much of them were designed decades ago, still seem hip, still seem cool. One of the funny things is you look at the watches from 50 or 60 years ago and we say, oh, that looks modern. I think what we're really saying is we haven't come up with anything better, right? And so when it comes to an analog dial to tell the time, to protect against the intrusion of water and pressure, other than new materials and colors, really, it was perfected back then. And all we really need to do is continue in that legacy. Would you sort of agree with that statement?
Yes, I think, So when you see some watches of the 70s, you say, they're amazing. They're incredible. The color also, no? The color are so colorful. It's exactly. Sometimes I say, how can I do something better? It's very difficult.
Now,
also because we think also, anyway, steel, mechanical is not something that actual. If you now the technology is going in other direction in a certain way, no? Technology in the 70s was already at a certain peak, no? In terms of steel, mechanical, this kind of technology, no?
Yeah,
now,
I mean, it's the last era that in any major way people were putting effort into making the next best mechanical movement. Today, they only do that for low production, super high end. They're not thinking about the next automatic movement that they're going to make 10 million examples of.
Yes, also mechanical movement is still very difficult to make anyway. And improvement is still a lot of work, a lot of engineering. It's still something very, very, very difficult to do. Now I see, for instance, there is a very rising interest in order of the colors, also for the superluminova, the shining, no? This is growing interest, and also there is a lot of research in this kind of direction. Because there is, from my point of view, there is a lot of to do, a lot of to show in the future about this special, particular, no, part of the linked to the watch.
You mean the luminous element?
The luminous element, for instance, there's now one piece luminova, this new color. There is a lot of work and a lot of interest about this.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I'm really glad you brought that up. Just for reference, with a mechanical watch, normally to see in the dark, you have luminous material, which has to be charged by light. The application of this luminous material, how much volume there is, has a lot to do with how bright it's going to be. There's, of course, a lot of different variables. But there's been like tritium gas tubes that are okay, a different alternative. Of course, there's electronic backlighting, but there hasn't really been a a major innovation in luminosity without radioactivity, right?
Yes. Also because, yeah, it's true, because, for instance, before was radioactivity was crazy. I still have some watches, some that after 40, 50 years, they are still shining in the night.
Wow.
Yeah. But also, about this is sad to say, but the radioactivity of the watch is really on the zero, no, almost zero. But they became part of a process of innovation that they put also the tritium. No, the tritium was the tritium is banned, but for what concerned the watch, is not dangerous at all. No, by the way, when they were changing the law, they put also the tritium inside this law, so the tritium was banned. For instance,
so in Italy, tritium is banned?
Now, for instance, that I don't know if you know the tube gas, the tritium inside a little cage of gas.
Yeah.
In Italy, for instance, and also I think in France.
In France, France.
Yeah, in France, it's banned.
Oh, that explains so much, because that's why no Italian watch brand has tritium. Okay, that's interesting. Is that so? Why is that exactly? That seems like an overzealous regulation.
Yes, it's banned. That is a shining, also very, very, very strongly way, strongly.
Yeah.
But it's banned because they say that you cannot manage. It can be dangerous in case of, it's no sense in a certain way. But the law are sometimes, the law is difficult to question. No?
Interesting. I guess you could have watches with tritium that just aren't sold in Italy, right? They're sold in other countries.
No, they are banned. You cannot sell anymore. Before,
what do you mean?
Possible, yeah.
Wait, anywhere in the world?
For instance, in the States it's possible, in Germany it's possible, but in Italy, in France, it's not possible.
Okay, so more parts of the world. Oh, interesting. I didn't realize that. Well, I'm going to enjoy my tritium gas tubes over here in America.
I was also thinking about this, but they said, listen, after you have to do 2 different production, one for, I don't know, Europe, another for the States, is a little bit headache.
So is there any other technology that takes superluminova and makes it even better? Absorbs more light, shines longer, is brighter.
Now, for instance, the solid block of superluminova,
yeah,
they have a good flourish.
Is it better than the paint?
They are very good, but they are very expensive also.
Oh, okay.
Because of course, superluminova is very expensive, sincerely speaking. But if you have some powder, we use in the dial, you can manage to make a watch with a solid superluminova. Is another question. Is much more expensive. A dial with a solid block of superluminova the cost is.
I love it when the hands or the hour markers are made out of those solid blocks. I'm not such a fan of the dial being glowing, but when the hands and hour markers, they're solid, I think that's nice, because it also adds more dimensionality, because people like the look of 3-dimensional dials and markers.
Yes, I too. I love it. I'm working on this for the future with some watches, I'm sure. I'm also working about. We are working. It's not only our brand, but generally speaking, how you can see the color in the deep of the sea. That depending how deep you go, some color disappear. No.
Yes, exactly.
And also this is a very interesting area to explore. No.
Well, so what do you mean exactly? For the purposes of showing depth, or?
For instance, yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a few watches like that. I think it's a brilliant concept, because you also get to have these like rainbow dials.
Of course, it's not, anyway, there is always a risk, to be, I mean, if you want to make a professional watch, to warranty that in a certain deep, one color disappear means that you are in a certain how many meters down, okay. is not easy to certify, because can be also depending what the color, the sea, how much light you have inside. It's not so. That's why it's very difficult to give a warranty that you have. I don't know. You are under -5 meters. I know it's not easy, but anyway, it's very interesting. This technology, this knowledge, I think.
What's it like working with the rating agency? I mean, I don't know how many of the watches are ISO certified. I know there's some other certifications out there. Does Squale work with any of these agencies, and how many of your watches are fall under those?
Normally we follow the rules, but we don't give for testing. We follow the rules. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But for us, it's not difficult to follow the rules, because we are already in this kind of rules. So
you already know how to do it. You've been doing it for so long.
Yeah, exactly.
No, for people who don't necessarily know, what are some of those rules? Obviously, the watch needs to survive to that depth.
For instance, survive is a sort of temperature. They have to last in a certain temperature.
Temperature, okay.
Yeah, it is very important. The temperature is very important in terms of a mechanical watch, also for how they work, and even more if it is a quartz or not. No? But this is another question. No? One of the most important is the temperature, and also when the changement of temperature from hot to cold, or from cold to hot. If there is, for instance, we have some machine that we have we put the watch in the hot water, for instance, and after in the ice, no, and if you have a certain amount of foggy, no, and it does not disappear in a certain amount of time, no, is not under the rules.
Interesting. So there's lots of little things that go into it.
Yeah, because of course some fog is easy to make, because the temperature is so different, maybe -70 degrees of difference, no? Okay, but after a while it should disappear.
I mean, if you ever had your watch fog up, you know that's something you want to avoid, right? That's not a good thing. I've unfortunately had that happen. I want to go back to a question about the designs. There's a lot of different watches that Squale sells right now, various different designs. And I know that some of them are a little bit more past looking in terms of more retro, and you've also tried to be a little bit more modern. My question is, when you try to push the envelope with modern design and you try to do new things, do you find that the community celebrates that, or are people very stubborn? And do you find it difficult to get people excited about anything new?
This is a very good question. It's a tough question, because I think we have many people, they want to be linked in the past. Every step we go ahead is it's easy, that to be criticized. What are you doing? What are you to try to do? You forget your soul. No, and this is
such strong words they give, right?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy, because I think that, from my point of view, I'm very proud of the past of the, and I know that we have to follow this path, of course, but of course we have to offer something different, no? Sometimes. Of course, you can offer some different terms of material or colors, but I always keep in my mind very strongly that I have a soul. I want to keep this soul in the watch, but I have to offer something new, no? And the people is very interested in what Squale is till now, no? And so I always try. Sometimes what I try is not so welcome, but I have to. I think if you want to go ahead, you have to respect yourself and also to propose something, no? You never know.
Well, what I say to people when they talk about respecting the past and the soul and all that is that when those watches they respect came out, they were not trying to recreate the past. Those watches were brand new. They did something well, particularly well for the first time, the thing is that people today are, I don't want to say lazy, that's not true, but they're not motivated to improve. Yeah. They just try different for the sake of different. They don't try to make better. And I think that's the problem. They just try to be fashionable about it, which is not necessarily what the consumer wants.
This, I agree. I totally agree, because for me, fashion is something is very dangerous, because fashion is linked to a certain time, no? Today to tomorrow, maybe you never know after tomorrow. So I think what I study is always to keep in my mind what can be for us very important, and maybe to try to develop a little bit under, keep in mind what is for us is a must that we have to follow. This is the real innovation for me. Yeah.
One of the things I've also noticed is that today, and maybe it'll change, but people today who like mechanical watches seem to want the most simple watch possible. When I first started getting into watches, complications were a thing in the 1990s. You remember watches would come out and it'd be like the same watch, but in like 5 different movements. Yeah. There's the chronograph, there's the 3-hand, there's the alarm. Nowadays, people seem to have a very different idea. They want mechanical, they don't want complicated. And I'm just curious, from a business perspective, have you found that it makes more sense having a larger variety of watches that are time only with basically the same movement versus having different complications, different features, and different things like that? Different brands have different approaches. I'm just curious about what you found works well for Squale.
For Squale, for us, it's a little bit easier, not the question, because if you think a diving watch, the diving watch have to follow some simple rules. You have to make a watch, okay, reliable and also easy to read. No, for instance, if you go diving with a super complicated watch, after for what? I mean, no reason. No, even if I think that the chrono is very fascinating from my point of view. The chrono is always something can be also good for a diving watch. So for us to have a simple, easy to read movement, so 2 hands, 3 hands, or even without date sometimes, or maybe GMT, it's enough for us. This is, of course, I make diving watch. If I were making other kind of watch, I think the complication can be interesting. But now, now you have a sort of smart devices that you can know a lot of other information. Maybe that's why also the people is more interested to a simple mechanical watch, because maybe they have another watch. I don't know. I don't want to advertise for other brands, but with so many different functions that you can heartbeat, pressure, everything. Maybe you don't need any more other complication in one mechanical watch. Maybe this can be one reason. I don't know.
No, it's true. It's true.
And also, the watch is linked also to, there is some moment the people is asking more for something, and after they let it down and they come back. In this moment, they want now a watch not even to, they want simple and also a little bit slimmer than before. Even if a diving watch, they are looking for simple things, for simple watch, so easy to wear, I think.
Yeah, I'd say wearability is probably very high on the list of priorities for a lot of consumers. And, Panerai is a great example of the type of watch that some people can wear every day, no problem, and other people might like the look of it, but it's too big. So I think that making smaller, thinner watches just makes it possible to wear a watch more of the time, right? And in more situations, which I think is great. Now, here's an interesting question that I've always been curious about and makes particular sense for Squale to ask. When it comes to diving watches, obviously there's different ratings. You have everywhere, 100 meters, 200 meters, 300 meters, 500 meters, 1,000 meters, more, some exotic ones. And a lot of brands, they differentiate their dive watches based upon depth rating. And I guess that makes sense. But of course, the irony is that most of the people buying these watches, all the ratings offer the same performance because no one's going that deep. And so the question is, how do you figure out like what assortment of depth ratings to have? Do you actually find that there's very different people that buy 1,000 meter versus 200 meter? Because again, it's sort of, we know that 200 meters is okay for like 99.9% of what people are going to do. Yet brands still put a lot of effort into having this whole range of different performance classes of dive watches, even though I'm not necessarily sure who's using them or knowing how to buy them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I know, but you know, in a certain way, you have to think that if you go, I don't know, if you dive, if you go in the swimming pool and you jump, no, the pressure of that you can have, no, from I don't know 5 meters, no, with a watch in the water can be, you can compare maybe to 300, 400 meters, no, because the pressure is very high. So to have a diving watch that 300, 400, 500 meters make in a certain way sense, no? Also,
so kids need a 500 meter watch so they can jump in a pool.
it's very hard to break, in a sense, you know, in the certain way, you know. This can be an explanation. Also, before to make a watch 1,000, 2,000 meter was a sort of technical challenge, you know. Now I see that people is not so much interested about how many meters you can go diving. The pressure, because the people now they look. I repeat, you know, a reliable watch, easy to wear, wearable, no. So if it's 20, 30, it's enough, no. We as a diving watch factory, we always have a target. For us, minimum must be 20, but normally every watch we have 30, 40, 50 because we master the technology, no? So we try to make as slim as possible, but still 40, 50 ATM, water resistant, no? But for us, it's a must. But I think the market now is not looking for 1,000, 2,000. This was more important in the past, I think. Is exactly in the same line that we were talking before, no?
With the complications?
The complication, simple, easy to wear, reliable, of course.
In 1862, Franz Ludwig Loebner began his career making precision timekeepers in what would become Germany. Settling in Berlin, he received an official clockmaker's mandate from the king and quickly gravitated towards the then pioneering technology of creating precise instruments to measure short durations of time. In 1881, Loebner was already an exclusive mark thanks to their ability to mass-produce chronographs able to measure 1/100th of a second. Just a few years later, they developed a clock able to measure 1/1000th of a second for sports and scientific purposes. Loebner continued to be a recognized German leader in precise and reliable high-accuracy timekeeping into the 20th century. They were among the first to use highly precise electric switches to trigger their mechanical measuring devices in order to overcome the limitations of human response time. Loebner has now been revived for a modern era. The company continues its long legacy of creating precise and beautiful timing equipment for today's demanding users. The Loebner Steel Racer features a novel chronograph-focused dial with an eccentric reading of the time and a sliding crown guard system. The time-only Loebner Sledge model features a smaller 100-meter water-resistant case and a new inner rotating timing bezel system. Learn more about the history of precision timekeeping instruments and the new Loebner wristwatch collection at lbnr.com. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I look at cars, right? And sometimes people buy the size of car they want for emotional purposes, but there's a very big difference to actually using a smaller, bigger car. With the watches, again, it's sort of like the same experience. But I have to say, like you said, I am impressed when there's a particularly thin or small watch that's water resistant to a high amount, like 1,000 meters. So I think that an enthusiast still cares, but I just think it's funny in your shoes because it's like you have to have all these products, but it becomes very weird to ask, how do you price them? How do you design them? What do you call them? Because it's like, the market wants them, but since it's sort of for weird emotional reasons, I would find it difficult to know how to position the watches and create families,
That's why I don't sleep very well during the night. It is my I always keep in my mind is what I have to do to follow my soul, or to be always keeping what the people is asking. I think if you go only, first to know exactly what the people want, you must be a genius, because this is something that not easy not to understand, because the evolution is also evolution, means there is always a risk that if you go after one evolution can be the wrong way, So I think that we have a lot of projects. For instance, we introduce 1 watt, 2 watt, 3 watts per year, or make colors, but we have 20, 30 every year that we try to make. And after we see. So it's a testing to make new artwork, new drawings, new dial, new case. Only this is the main work is this. The main work is this, is to see what can be, and also to keep on watching here, to me in my wrist, to see if it can work or can't work. But only the market will say if you are successful or not, of course.
I think that's so important to say that. And I want to reiterate this. There's no genius person out there who can just pick the winners all the time. Creative people just have to keep trying things. And that's the only way you find out. You experiment, you expect to fail, and you hope to get lucky. And all these famous brands and watches and models, they're all the result of that exact process. No one sat there in a cave and said, I figured out the exact formula. I know the product to make. Everyone's going to want to buy it. No, they have to keep trying and trying. And that's what a motivated creative person does in this space, is every year, like you said, you have to lie in bed and think to yourself, I know I need to do something new. No one tells me exactly what's going to be perfect. Everybody tells me what they think I should make, and I can't make it all. So what do I do? And that's a hard thing to do. And that's why you were the boss.
Exactly. I mean, to be lucky can be the best or the worst things in your life, because if you're lucky only one time, and you think that everything you will do in the future, you are sure because you are lucky,
Yeah.
This is not for warranty. It's easy. I saw a lot of people. They started a business. They were immediately lucky. You catch.
It happens.
You catch the big wave the first time.
Exactly. And you don't know. You think it was you. You're like, I was a genius. No. You just struck gold on the first hit. That's what happened.
And after you spend all your life waiting for another wave on the same sides, yeah. It's a little bit, the surf. I don't surf, but I see the people waiting for the wave. You can be waiting for it one day, or the first time you arrive in the water, you take the biggest wave.
So what types of water activities do you personally like? I mean, you have a brand that makes the perfect watch for it. Are you a diver? Are you are you a spear fisherman? Are you a jet skier? Are you a surfer? What do you like to do in the water?
Listen, my family was very, very linked to the sea. We when I was young, we went with all my family spearfishing, since I speak,
Okay, so that's how you know about it.
I started to swimming. Now I'm 60 years old, but I still part of a master team of swimming. I go swimming. Some little competition, of course, of in the lakes, on the seaside. I love swimming a lot. Swimming for me is fantastic. Of course, the 90th of my time is swimming is in the swimming pool, of course, But if I have the chance, I go swimming in the sea. And for instance, my holiday are always close to the best sea I can have in the Mediterranean. Very clear when I can swim and I see what's going down. I'm not anymore spear fishing anymore. I let it. I made 15 years ago, because it's also a little bit risky,
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
If you want a good fish dinner, it's not like it's hard to do. That's it. Look, I love to hear that. I hear a little bit of myself in that. I also always try to travel somewhere where there's a good warm ocean I can swim in. You probably don't know this because there's so many things, but I designed a couple of dive watches with Zodiac, and
really?
the first one I did, on the back of it, in my own handwriting, it says, "I'd rather be swimming."
Really?
Yeah.
You have to show me.
I'll send you a link to it. It's the Aquamarine Dream. They told me it was their best seller for 2 years in a row.
Oh, you start thinking about something that I'm very interested. We can talk about.
No, but I'm just saying, like, I'm like you, that I spend a lot of my time thinking about the nicest places to swim. I enjoy it as well. I haven't done spearfishing. I don't have your history with it, but I'm a fellow fan, and I've noticed, there's a lot of missing things. As for many decades, as we've been making dive watches, there's a lot of missing colors, features, things like that. And that's some of the things that surprises me, because even though there's thousands upon thousands of dive watches on the market, I still think there's more. You know what I mean? Like I think there's still more we can do.
But this is when you go to visit a show, you see, but sometimes I say to myself, but I'm so crazy to try to sell watches with so many brands every day. I think that watch in a certain way is also linked a little bit to the ego of a man, no? Because I know a lot of people, they have some money, they want to make a watch, no? Even if it's successful or not, they want to, because watch is a jewelry for men, no? It's a jewelry for men. And so people want to show, they are proud, this is my watch, I make this myself. And so, but anyway, there is some winning point in this market. It's crazy, but it's still. If you see, we don't have now anymore. If we see the watch in the past and now, you see, for instance, the reason why we have a diamond watch. There was a real reason, no? A real reason to go diving, to be sure, no? What time is it? How long I have to stay in the water? Now you have computer, you have a lot of technology. Outside in the water, you have a smart device that can give you the time with atomic precision, no? But still the people is interested in the watches. It's difficult. It's a difficult question for me.
I mean, this is the way I understand it. The object, because it requires so many human disciplines to make, meaning the watch, there's not just one discipline, but so many human disciplines to make and use, there's so much sentimental value to it. So people associate meaning to this object that they can wear. It goes beyond that. So you can't scientifically understand it because it's a connection to the memories that they attach to this object. And I think that's what it is. And when you talked about the ego element, yeah, but it goes into why we love it. Every watch, when worn, celebrates the person wearing it. That's what it does.
Yeah, it's true.
It celebrates you. And what's great about it is you get to celebrate yourself in different ways with different watches. Sometimes you want to celebrate the adventurer in you. Sometimes you want to celebrate the intellectual in you, the classicist, the successful person, the adventurer, the ladies' man, whatever you want. There's a watch for that.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I totally agree. Yeah. Watch is a part of you. Maybe you want to show something that can be also one day, one mood to the people. To yourself, I think. Because normally I think I wear a watch for myself, not for the other people. Okay. Of course, I have a sort of my rules that I never wear other brands, you know.
Oh, you don't? Only Squale?
This is, I love Blampeg. Sincerely speaking, if I could buy, I mean, I love the 50 Fathom for me is a crazy nice
It's
watch.
So beautiful.
So beautiful. No? I cannot wear because this is my rule. Because every watch I wear, I want to test. I want to see how it can look. So it's a lot of my wrist is a lot of experiment machine. Okay, but I think it gives such a good feeling to have to see some watches. to you also, no?
Oh, yeah.
Really, I understand. I understand what the people is.
Well, I mean, look, it's a fair question to ask because your family has been in this for so long. You can ask the question, how much longer are people going to want these legacy items? Yeah. It's a fair question to ask. And what I've established is that the demand for watches is going to be strong for the rest of our lives and then some. What we don't know is what kind of watches they want to buy, where they want to buy them, or what they want to spend on them. This we don't know. No, but we do know that watches are going to be popular.
And if you read now in the last months, there is a sort of drop down of the luxury, for instance, not in terms, not only about watches, but in terms of luxury in every kind.
Yeah, as a whole market category.
Yeah, this can be a new path for the future also. For the watches, or for other things like this.
I think, what I've always loved about watches above the sort of luxury part is that it's the story around it is that this thing works. And when you're in a world where so much around you doesn't work, like your own government, it's really nice to know that you have this object from this like stable company in the stable country that makes these things. That's one of the reasons I think that watches also do well in a very chaotic time, because I mean, look at what Patek Philippe sells itself on. It's really not the product. It's, as a house, we are incredibly stable. Our company will be here long after you die so that your children can get your watches that you buy today serviced, right? Like, that's another interesting element. So for those people, they're not looking to buy a conspicuous form of consumption. They're looking to buy things that they feel has a degree of permanence and perfection, because that doesn't really exist in the real world.
No, exactly, yeah. And also, if you see Patek Philippe, they don't go after fashion. And also, they don't grow the market. I mean, they can produce, I'm sure, 2 or 3 times more the quantity, But they say, why? Why we have to follow the ask of the people? If we want to be reliable, we must produce the same amount of watch every year. And even if the people is crazy to have to buy 2 or 3 times more the quantity.
So for people who are new to Squale and are looking at watches in the sort of $1,000 to, I guess, $2,000 range, maybe up to $3,000, which is like the sweet spot for Squale. Why you? Why should they look at your watches versus many of the others? Obviously, you're an interesting personality. The brand has a super amount of history. What else do you want to say about the company and your products today that means people interested in this type of product should definitely look at you?
So it's a well-reputed watch brand, first.
Okay, good reputation, that helps.
Yeah, I mean, we are not we are not expensive. We are
very fair pricing.
Very fair price. Very fair price with a good history on the back. And we are a family. I mean, still a lot of people here, me first, that don't sleep in the night, thinks about the watch. So when you buy, it's true. But when you buy a watch like for Squale, you buy something that is still, there is a lot of work. There is a lot of feeling in our
pride.
It's not a commercial product. It's something more, I'd say, for a reasonable price, of course. I mean, could be more expensive. We never know. We will never increase. But we want to be a good reason to buy a watch. A lot of good reason that give you the good feeling to have our watch on your wrist. I think
I'll say it this way. There's a lot of companies out there that when you go to their website and you see their products, it's kind of like they're pretending to be Squale. You're the real thing. But I think you'll agree that there's a lot of companies out there that, again, you look at their products, you see how they talk about themselves. It's like they're trying to be you. Squale is not one of those brands pretending. Squale is that brand that many others are trying to copy.
Yes, this.
You can't say that. I can say that.
I thank you a lot for this definition, for this word.
But that's true, right?
Yeah.
And that's the kind of weird thing. I'm sure you see other, because new brands pop up all the time and they're allowed to, and that's great. But I'm sure you see some and you're like, whoa, they just came yesterday and they've got all these pictures of people diving from the 70s. Yeah. Like, no. What is all this? But you must have strong emotions every time you see these new brands.
Also, it's true that now with videos or picture, you can show a watch so nice, but after you have to touch the watch, you can see the difference. Also, sometimes the watch is made with a soul, not only in an industrial way. I think
it's funny you mentioned that, because just this year, I was waiting for it to happen, but just this year, I finally started hearing from the really, really big brands that they lack confidence in their pictures because they realize that you can make a $100 watch look so good with enough doctoring that people don't actually understand what their watches look like just by seeing those marketing images, that they still have to invite people to see them. And so you're absolutely right, because on the internet, it doesn't take a lot of effort to make even a not nice watch just look amazing in pictures. And so consumers, that's all they see. And with just that, they don't know. Yeah, maybe they can say the design is nice, but like under the most ideal lighting conditions and exactly. Contrast and stuff like that.
No, it's not easy for a consumer. It's not easy. I mean,
yeah, it's true. It's hard.
Choice. Of course, this is the good. You have a crazy choice of goods to buy. To waste can be also a good reason to waste your money, but you don't have to waste your money. You have to focus, because the money are a value, no? And you have to put the value in the right place, I think. And so also for me, for instance, YouTubers, some people, they are reliable. I see, for instance, some people came to us and said, I want to buy a diving watch. After I start looking around and I see that you have a good history, you don't have a crazy price, you're not Rolex, of course, no? So I can afford, no? But to let the people arrive to this point, there is a lot of work on the back.
I think if you take a Squale and you wear it in a room of people that know watches, people are going to give you a smile. It may not be the most expensive watch in the room, but there's no one there who's going to be like, "Oh, Squale?" Like that's just not going to happen, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Go ahead.
When I go to the show, sometimes I'm so surprised that people arrive with so really enthusiastic, that I sometimes I don't even know how to explain, understand? Because, I live in one office, right now you are living there, you have your life, you're not ready to see the people. It means that you have done a lot of right things, and it is give you a lot of happiness and satisfaction. It's crazy, yeah.
Andrea, we're out of time right now, but I'm so happy that we had a chance to speak. I recommend that everyone go to the Squale website, which is squale.ch. Yeah. This has been the Superlative Podcast interview with the owner and CEO, Andrea Maggi. Andrea, thank you so much.
Thank you so much to you, and we keep in touch, okay?